This is the G podcast where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the G podcast, and today we got a special guest, one of my homies, Dash Kingz, Mr. Tim himself, and we getting right to it, y'all. Let's go. This is the G pod.
No talking about
One more time, y'all. This is the G podcast where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the G podcast, and we got Tim in the building.
Man, appreciate you having me up here, brother.
Yes, indeed, man. So we're going to get right to it, y'all. I actually grew up with Tim. I want to just, since we have this history, just if we go back to them days, do you even remember when we first crossed paths, or what is your earliest memory of us crossing paths back in the day?
To be honest, G, like I remember maybe I don't know if you remember. You remember Hope Valley? I might have seen you then. But that's when we was like super young. As far as any other times after that, it was always within the neighborhoods because we used to crawl under the fence. Our neighborhoods was like literally parallel to each other. We used to hop the fence and we would do regular kids shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Play football with women or each other's chicks in the neighborhood. Like that, man. Like, you know, that's what we used to do back in the day. So if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but that's how I remember you.
No, man, I think that's a pretty accurate way to describe. We was just around the neighborhood doing stuff on foot, on bike, just getting into trouble. And just growing up in that era of Durham, like how would you describe those like middle school years and growing up in Durham? How would you describe it from your point of view?
Well, Durham for me, man, is always going to have a special place in my heart. I'll say this, like the excuse me, the sense of community out there is just like, it was like super strong. Even for kids, like how we were growing up, like the sense of community was always super strong. It was something that like the older I've gotten in life, I realized not a lot of other communities have that. I'll say like it taught me a lot of things as far as how to keep things close, people that you love, keep people close to you. And as far as my experience, man, it was lovely, bro. Of course, I was single parent household, but my mom did the best that she could, and everything else I got from outside, bro. So that's my experience, man.
Yeah, man. Like growing up outside, I think is a lost pastime. I don't think the generations these days don't do as much growing up outside, learning, just being by yourself, self-correction. The environment corrects you because you got to act right.
Right. Yeah, these kids nowadays don't know how to skin their knees and fall off the bike and get up and try it again. They're a real baby to stay in the house. Now, I don't want to say everyone's kid like that, but I can say for my nieces and nephews, I had to get on their ass a few times. Like, nah, tighten up. But I didn't learn like that. Like, I learned through trial and error. You skin your knees, you get up, you dust your stuff off, you do it again. You know what I'm saying? So,
and like you said, trial and error growing up. I do remember when we were growing up, like school, I don't think for either of us was like that important. I don't think we was like trying our best at it. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I'll say I 100% agree with that. Yeah, I'll 100% agree with that. And you know what? At the time, I felt like that was the right thing for me to do, brother. Like
talk about that.
Well, I'll say this: school. Obviously, you need it to advance in life or whatnot. But sometimes you got people that think about our grandparents, man. A lot of them was agricultural. Like they grew up in the fields. They work with their hands. A lot of them might not have been like sophisticated as far as like education wise, like books and reading skills like that. Like a lot of our grandparents worked in the fields, and to me, that's a lost trait. But that's an excuse. As far as like when me growing up, yeah, man, I had a problem with that, bro. I had a very short attention span, and I always wanted to be around my friends. So yeah, skipping school, that was like normal to me. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think my mama, she would hate that, but that's just what it was, bro. It's just what it was, man.
Like you said, attention span, like in your opinion, just if we could go back, what would have made school more conducive for a young person like yourself to actually like buckle down and kind of take it more serious? Like, given who you were at the time and the environment that you grew up in, like what differences in school, like if they were there, could have possibly made a better impact, do you think?
Well, I would say at the time, instead of being so robotic, like I felt like school just has an element of just being like, hey, I read you this, you retain it, then you repeat it back to me. I'm more of a hands-on type of learner. So even for what I do now, like in my industry, is hands-on. In order for a person to retain it and understand, they have to touch it. They have to see how it hooks to this. They have to understand the mechanisms of it. And I'm more of a learner like that. Now, I mean, I can sit there and we can do the let's read a book game and this and that. And I feel like I do great in that. But like at that time in my life, G, no, bro. No. I wasn't going for it, brother. I just didn't have the attention span, man.
But this does highlight, like, I think we were one of the first or few generations where they took away some of that more hands-on stuff in the public school system, like the wood shop, the mechanic school, like all that stuff. They used to be something that was more normal and they took it away. And like, I agree completely, man. Like my learning style, I just could not sit down and pay attention at that age. Like there's girls around me. It's so much going on.
Exactly.
And I'm going through puberty too, so it's just like I can't sit down here and think. I'm just trying to make her laugh real quick. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like you're doing any and everything but focusing on class. Like you just try to do a little something on the side, man.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And I think honestly, because you got to think about it like this. I'll say for the kids nowadays, let's take it to high school. Like it looks like a lot of kids nowadays, their teachers aren't too far removed age-wise from them. So let's say we was like 16, 17. Their teachers nowadays are probably like 26, 27. So it's like a 10-year range. So what I'm saying is it's a little more relatability. Like we had teachers, it was like 50 something. We're like 16, like they're more on the old school models, like sit down, shut up. Oh, this is East Side High. You need to listen to what, and no, like
been teaching there for already 10 plus years. Like,
I think that's what the difference is in contrast in today's how these kids are growing up compared to how we grew up. I just think the teachers was a little bit outdated. Like maybe if they would have had teachers that looked like something like, hey, I want to listen to Miss Such and Such, she big as hell. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that would, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying?
It will make you pay attention a little bit more. Like, say that again. Like, you're gonna be more locked in and engaged. Like, yeah. I'll stay after class just to see what else extra we can do for sure.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's how I would take from it. I mean, but you still have to have some type of, I guess, discipline. My mom was big on that as far as my household, but like I said, I grew up in a single parent household. The world was kind of mine. She had to work, and she was going to school at the time too. So it was like homework. Like what? Like.
As soon as I got off the bus, only thing I went home was to just get that book bag up off of me. You ain't like this in the house, lock the door, and I'm outside. Like
you ain't lying, bro. The bad thing is, G, you remember me, dude. Like my book bag used to stay flat. Like I didn't have books. Come on, man. Like what?
Right.
Like, I was more than likely
stayed in the locker the whole year. Yeah.
That's a fact, bro. That's a fact. I didn't even. It was at one point in time I didn't even remember where my locker was.
Oh my goodness!
Like what? Like all bad.
So let's go back to this time period because we have talked about growing up in high school, but just from your experience going to Jordan, and we can talk about where you ended up finishing. But for the time you spent at Jordan, like what from that experience do you feel like really benefited you even after you left the school or in the area, like just growing up in this area and going to say Jordan? What were some of the lessons that kind of really stuck with you from that experience at Jordan?
Like I said, like I was saying, as far as the cultural rise, it's a sense of a strong sense of community out in the Durham area. Now, you remember Jordan we was considered the right, like the white school. Like I don't know why, but like I guess we was on what we was like on the southwest side of town, going towards like Chapel Hill ish kind of area. So they would consider us the white side of school, although it was still majority black at Jordan. Like I never got that. But as far as my experience there, like compared to other schools that was in Durham, if you think about the majority black schools like Southern and Hillside, I learned a lot. Being around other cultures of people taught me how to be well-rounded. That wound up helping me later on in my career, going into the military and doing what I do now. It helped me just kind of just be able to be comfortable with being myself in front of people that don't necessarily know what I know or grew up how I grew up.
I agree. Like I really looking back had a pretty good experience there overall in a way that I think, like you said, it exposes you to some things and it kind of prepares you for society in a way that you don't necessarily anticipate while you're there. And you ended up leaving. Like talk to me about why you ended up leaving Jordan and where did you go?
Okay, so so long story short, I wound up leaving Jordan. It was it was my sophomore year, but it was like my second sophomore year. But anyway, I left Jordan because I was skipping school so much, dude, that my mom was getting calls, and I forgot who the principal was. It was the big brother, the big man. What was his name? I can't think of his name at the moment, but he was calling my mom on the hotline so much. It was like my mom just wanted. She was like, "Tim, what are you doing?" Like she had to have a sit down with me at night. Like so, she wound up sitting down with me one night, and she was like, "Look, man, like obviously you're a grown man, you're growing up, but the path that you're going down right now is just not conducive to you being a productive citizen in this society." Long story short, so she was like, "Look, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send your ass to this boarding school out here in Pennsylvania." Now the boarding school is a church school, and it was a church school. It was called Pine Forge Academy.
And where in Pennsylvania?
It was in a place right outside of Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and that's about maybe 40 minutes from Philadelphia. It's kind of in the mountain region. Yeah, it's kind of in the mountain region. I say 40 minutes to the southeast or southwest, excuse me, of like Philadelphia. We used to go there when we was good kids. We used to go. They used to allow us to go to a mall out there called King of Prussia, and they used to allow us to shop. But anyway, I wound up meeting some good people out there. People that I still keep in contact with to this day. And I went out there, graduated in 05, did my time, I guess. I had to get used to that cold, brother. Yeah, that was shocking as far as how cold it was.
But also, too, going from a situation where you basically have the freedom to just roam as you want because mom's not at the crib, to now you go into what seems to be a very structured environment.
Yeah, it was a boarding school. It was a boarding school. It had deans. Again, like you had to be in your room at a certain time. So yeah, you're right. Like it was kind of a shocking environment along with the actual culture. Again, I was a young man, and I don't want to be too frank on your show, but I was involved in different activities. I was involved in different activities, drinking, smoking, having sex, doing shit, you know what I'm saying? And like to go up to this type of environment, it was a complete shock. I actually got in trouble. I actually got in trouble up there because me being a Bull City guy, that's till I die. You know what I'm saying? I had brought me some drugs up there. And
oh man,
yeah. And long story
back then it was probably some Zona. Back then it was some Zona.
Yeah, it was some good Zona, bro.
Oh
it was like
man,
a 7 of that. It was like a 7 of that. You know what I'm saying? And we had a guy that I was like, nah, I don't trust this dude. And I was right, because he was the dude that wound up telling me and like 4 or 5 other guys. But the good thing about that school is, like I said, you kind of get a little more culture, because I was meeting people from the DC area on up. And I never really knew people like that other than a few people that was from New York that lived in my neighborhood at the time in Shannon Manor. You know? So it was a good experience, brother. I wouldn't take it back.
You did 2 years there? How long were you there? I
did 2 years there. And then I wound up coming back to Durham after in 2005. I tried to attend your alumni state, but they denied the hell out of me. So it was like, all right. I was like,
So
all
hold on.
right, I guess I can't go.
So you do the 2 years up there. Did you come home on the weekends at all, or were you just like up there and that you were just up there?
Man, mama left me up there. She was like, look, here's your shoes that you like, your your favorite pillow that you drool and sleep on, and your covers, and that. She left me up there until it was time for me to get back, brother. I'm just gonna keep
Word.
it honest with you because I look, you gotta understand, like, she can't fully focus if she thinking her son is in the streets. And at that time in Durham, you gotta remember, Welcome to Durham
This is
had
welcome to
came out.
Durham. Yeah, no, this
Yeah.
is that time.
So
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
time. It's hot outside. It's real
yeah,
hot outside. You can't just be loosey goosey. You know what I'm saying? So she was scared for me. I
yeah,
understand now as a man. I
yeah.
understand. But so yeah, man. Like the only times I really came home, honestly, it was like for the holidays. And
Mm.
obviously, I would see the neighborhood. People be like, "Oh, you back now?" Like it's like, nah, I still got to go back up there, but let's chill or whatever.
Did you internalize that in any way? Like, did you like have like any just feelings like man, I'm up here, this some bullshit, or were you positive throughout at that time?
I did at first, which led me to getting in trouble because I still
Mm,
came up
mm,
there with that Durham attitude. It was like,
mm.
nah, I'm finna do. I continue what I was doing back at home. I don't give a about none of these rules or whatever, whatever. I was labeled. I would say the Fresh Prince, but more in a negative way. Because you got
Right,
to remember,
right.
this is a school that actually had uniforms, dude. Like you
Mm,
had to wear a uniform, a tie. Like, so you remember how I was, G? Like, what? Like, I'm not doing none of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was Jordans or Air Forces and some jeans and a white tee. Like, that's what we was
right,
doing,
right.
So complete shock. But I was resentful at the beginning, but then when I realized how good the people were around me, like as far as like my classmates and the people that I wound up graduating with, I settled in eventually.
Word. And did you have your mind on trying to do anything professionally at that time period?
Man, the only thing that I was trying to do was just graduate. I'm not even gonna
Yeah,
lie. It sounds so simple. It sounds so
yeah,
simple, but I wanted to do that because I felt like my mom put up a lot with me. I wanted to prove to her like I can do something in education. I can at least get you a high school diploma. Like, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying, if anything. But yeah, I didn't really have anything as far as what I wanted to do professionally yet. No, not at
Word.
the moment.
I think that's just very common. I don't know whether that be because we just don't care to think about it because we don't get exposed to it or what the reason is, but I just think it's very common that we end up falling through these periods of life that ultimately are like super transformative to how we end up as adults, but in the moment we don't really know what's happening, especially in those like late teens, early 20s. We just kind of floating, trying to survive, not
Facts.
knowing what is kind of setting us up for. When you came back, like what was you thinking at that time period when you left and you came back home for a while?
Well, and you got to remember, you had an interview with my homie Quan not too long ago, and I was still kind of in contact with Quan. I don't know if Brittany, hey, well, she's married now, but Brent's sister,
Yeah.
they had both went to Winston-Salem State, and I had a homie, my name Prentice. He had his sister was going to Winston-Salem State, so I was infatuated with Winston-Salem State at the moment, is what I'm saying. I wanted to
Hmm.
attend. I wanted to be a part of the Rams. I really wanted to be a part of that culture because every time I went out there, I had a fire time. Like every time I was not losing, bro. Like
Yeah.
in anything, like in anything, I was not losing, bro. I swear to God, like I was not losing. So it was like I gotta go here. I have to
Yeah.
go here. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when I applied and they looked at my transcripts, they was like Bible, like what they Bible study. They were like, sir, like this is you might want to go to like a theology school or something like this. This ain't
Mm-hmm.
really the school for you. Because I told you when I went to Pine Forge, it was a church school. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the
Mm-hmm.
courses up there was like Bible class, one of like, and I skated by in
God.
that. But you're gonna have those type of courses, and those don't really translate into school like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, yeah, they crushed me. They crushed me when I went up there, and they pretty much shredded up my transcripts. They were like, "Yeah, try again." You know what I'm saying? I left there disheartened, brokenhearted. You know what I'm saying? I left the campus. My mom was leaving Carolina. She was moving to Memphis, so I wound up going with her to Memphis.
Word. Word. Yo, that like, and like, this is what year roughly going to Memphis?
This is 06, kind of like mid 06, I say like September 06 to 07, around that period time when I tried to go into Winston-Salem State, no bueno. Then I left to go to Memphis with my mom because she wound up getting her little stuff for her jobs. Well, she got a good job out of Memphis, and I left with her. I didn't have a place to stay. I would have stayed in North Carolina, but I didn't have a place to stay.
And that makes sense, man. Like, and then going from coming back from random spot in PA, then going to a city like Memphis. Like, talk to me about like how much time did you spend there, and just like what was your initial impression of that city?
I was in Memphis for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Mhm.
And honestly, it was just a bigger version of Durham.
Mm.
It's just a bigger version of Durham. You get into the trouble that you want to get into. Obviously, way more countryer. Obviously, like they used to be like, "You from up north?" And now I'm from North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. That's literally next door. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying.
That's hilarious.
With good people, honestly, bro, like good people out there. I had a real good time out there, truth be told. It was just Memphis got a stigma for being Memphis, man. It's ghetto or whatever, but not all the places in Memphis is like that. That's just some places in the South Memphis, and some places in North Memphis. I stayed in the East a little bit right before you get into Germantown. That's like super white area, but it's nice. Don't get it twisted. Like I would buy a house out there today if I could. But yeah, it was decent, bro. It was like just a bigger Durham. Just a bigger
Word, word. And you say you would still buy a crib out there today in the city of Memphis?
I would. It's good people, man. It's they actually have a little culture about themselves out there. It's just like I said, man. They got the same type of community as how we grew up in Durham. It's a lot of knuckleheads everywhere. These youngins nowadays is totally out of control, man. So that's kind of out of our hands per se. But stick with your own and you keep your own safe, you'll be all right, man.
So going to somewhere like Memphis, you managed to, I guess, like not get in the mix. I'm like, what were you into at that time period? Seeing how you weren't able to go to Winston-Salem State, like what was kind of the next move there when you went to Memphis?
Well, I'll tell you what. At the time I was working, I was working in hooping. Truth be told, I was working at a Burger King off of like Airways. I can't think of the cross street, but that's kind of like in the prime area, like not necessarily the hood, but it's the hood. But I was working there. I was making some money. I was really slick on my way to being like they was really liking me there. They was liking my ambition, how I was doing things. I was getting paid more than the regular workers. Not that Burger King is paying money or whatever, but for a young man, to kind of show some type of leadership skill, I think I was instilling myself that. It was like, I don't know anyone here, but for some reason people are attracted to me. So I'm just gonna use that to my advantage. And that's where I learned my skill to like maintain as far as being myself and working whatever situation to my advantage, to using it to my advantage essentially. Yeah.
Why'd you end up leaving Memphis?
Well, I left Memphis and then I went to the military right after. So my mom still had a crib in Memphis, but she was trying to work herself to Alabama, which she wound up doing. At the time, I wasn't really trying to deal with no Alabama. I was like, nah, Alabama. Like, nah, I don't want to go there. Respect to my people in Alabama. I love Alabama. I actually wound up going there, but we'll get there. I wound up going to the military. I wound up going to the Air Force. I did my time there. That's how I ended up in Alabama after that. But I wound up going to the military, man.
And why the military? Why the Air Force?
Well, my sister was in the Navy. She was doing great in the Navy, and I didn't want to copy her. So I didn't want to copy her. I wanted to be different. I wanted to. She kind of gave me the platform as far as like, or the steps, the guide steps into like what to expect and what to do. So that helped me out tremendously. But I didn't want to copy her exact steps. I kind of wanted to lay my own path. So that's why I picked the Air Force, honestly.
Word. And you spent how long in the Air Force?
I was in the Air Force for 4 years.
4 years.
Did my thing. I left at an E3, so that's like the A1C, Airman First Class. They was trying to hustle me to keep me in there to do another term, but I was just kind of like over it. Like, all right, like, nah, I'm cool. Respect to the Air Force, man. I met some good people there too.
What was it about the environment or the career ultimately that deterred you from signing up for a second contract or tour?
Well, honestly, my career when I was in the Air Force, I was military police. So I like, look, I can break a gun down, clean it, build it back up, make it shoot more effectively. I can do a whole bunch of shit, like, but I knew I wasn't going to use that skill set once I gotten out, and they wasn't trying to allow me to change careers at the time. Even for like if I wanted to recommit to another 4 years, they wasn't going to allow me to change my career path because I was really honestly trying to be in logistics, which is what I'm in now. But I was trying to do that back then. They wouldn't let me do it. That was kind of like a, well, no go. It's a no go. Then I had the Army trying to recruit me on the side, and they was like I could have done whatever I wanted, and they was actually offering more money, but I didn't want to go into the Army at that time. It was just I just didn't want to do the Army, so I just left the military alone altogether. Went back to Huntsville.
What was it about the Army that was just like you knew that wasn't a path for you to go?
Well, when I seen how masculine some of the women were in there, it was like, can we have a conversation? I'll say this, like with the Air Force, even the Navy, it's sort of like a college environment, right? It's not hurrah, like I'm the strongest or I'm this and I'm that. It's more, hey, look, can you do this? Do you know how to do this? Or it's more like a college type of feel. I felt like with the Army, it was just too like bravo, like I'm the big guy or the big lady or whatever. And I could have done that too, but no, I'm not really savage like that. I'm still a little sophisticated, man. Like I want to have a good conversation. It shouldn't just be like who can eat the most meat in Turkey, or I'm saying like who can. Nah, I don't care about that, bro. It's like peon. Like, excuse my language, but nah, you know what I'm saying? Respect to the Army, though. I'm not being disrespectful when I say that. I'm just saying, like, just wasn't for me. Wasn't for me.
Yeah. Word. Doing the 4 years, like what was, I guess, like the biggest lesson that you was able to take away from that experience, having served those 4 years?
That you can't trust everyone. Ironically, you remember how I was saying earlier in the conversation, like how I had a sense of community, how you can open yourself up to people just from how we grew up in Durham, right? Sometimes people that use that against you. With military police, it's a dog eat dog business. So everyone wants to be the top dog. I had wound up getting the Article 15 because I was a young man. I had gotten in trouble with a DUI. So I had the same people that I worked with came and arrested me and threw me in jail. And that was a crazy situation too. But the same people that I worked with came and arrested me and threw me in jail, right? I was in there for, a few hours, obviously, they wasn't gonna keep me in there, but I was told not to drive my car on base. So they made it tough for me to kind of like just get around and do normal things. Like bases are like mini cities, or if you want to compare it to a college, they're like colleges, bro. Like the gym can be way on this side, the library can be way on this side, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like you want to walk there, like you can, but like nah, like and I'm like 21, so I used to drive still. I was like, man, fuck that. I got a nice Audemars sitting on 24s. I want to show this bitch off, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I had a couple of people snitch and tell on me, and my superiors wound up getting on me, but they liked me so much that they let me go. But that's when I realized it's like, wow, I thought this guy was cool, and here it is. He was dropping the low on me every single time.
Right. Yeah, man. I got similar experience in like thinking that people were thorough, giving the benefit of the doubt because of how we grew up, right? Like everybody not thorough. That is for sure. And you can't give people that benefit of the doubt.
That's a fact.
And people, it is crazy how you come to learn that, but it's unfortunately you learn it when the law is involved. Like that's like like that's what it's like when you come to figure out like, oh, you're not really that thorough. Got it. Yeah. You don't really quite see it until the law is involved, man.
So what you was doing out there in Winston-Salem, man? For the laws to be involved, brother?
Actually, I kept a pretty clean slate in Winston, man. I didn't get in any trouble in Winston, man. Honestly, man. And at the time, I had a girlfriend that was at UNCG, so I was probably in Greensboro like Thursday through Tuesday, and then be in Winston like Tuesday. Like I leave Greensboro in the morning on a Tuesday, hit campus, get through class, stay at the crib, and then Thursday night when class was over, I'm probably headed back to Greensboro. Like I really wasn't even in Winston like that. It was a weird school experience compared to how, say, I treated school growing up, because growing up in school was like extra social, extra in the mix, like trying to. But when I got to Winston, man, like that was where I started to like care about the grades a little bit more, because that was the only school I got into, by the way. I didn't necessarily want to go there. I applied to 3 schools and got into 1. I happened to get into Winston. That's when I was like, let me try to hit the dean's list once, or get like let me try to get these grades off. And my freshman year, I was able to do that. So I gotta say, I stayed pretty clean. I stayed out of trouble while I was at Winston. It wasn't until later on where I got in this situation in Jersey, and it was like a random. I was up there shooting content for a project I was doing, High and Mighty. Dante wasn't there. You remember Charles, African Charles Karaoke? You remember that?
Yeah, Charles. Yeah, I remember Charles.
Yeah, he was up there. He was up there with me. We was shooting some content for that album, man. And to make a long story short, the dude that we was working with, do you remember Michael even? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So I reach out to Michael when I'm in Amsterdam, and we start working on some music.
Okay.
Come back to Amsterdam. Now we got this music, let's record some content, put it out, et cetera, et cetera. So he puts me in contact with this dude that I'm not even going to say this name, man. This owe me money. He owe me money, and he knows he owe me money. If he see this know he a clown who owe me money. He knows that. He knows that. If he sees this clip, he knows that he is a super clown that owes me bread.
Gee,
he knows this. He knows this.
Yo.
he knows this. He did a nigga super dirty, super dirty. But we went up to shoot this content. We in New Jersey, and we go pick homie up to go to this place in Philly to shoot a scene. But we're in the outskirts of New Jersey, like in the South Jersey. So we not in Philadelphia. We on that side. Me and Charles is chilling. And while we chilling, people start doing stuff in the car, right? Just to relax, right? I'm like, okay. We end up leaving the scene, and en route to the location, there's a cop car that literally, so it's a lane going this way, a lane going this way, and a turn lane in the middle. I'm supposed to make a left, but apparently you can't get in that turn lane too early, or otherwise it's a lane violation. Apparently, even if the traffic line is like long as hell, you can't get over in that lane.
Right.
So I'm in that left turn lane, just cruising down because I'm about to make a left. And then there's a cop coming out, and he is he's perpendicular. So he's crossing that lane like he's about to turn, but then he sees me coming, and he physically stops the traffic in the other. Like he stops, makes me go in front of him, Like he stops and makes me go in front of him. As soon as I'm sitting at the light, I'm like, here we go. I'm like, here we go. And I'm in a rental car, then drove down from my father-in-law's house in Long Island to, like, I'm staying with this in Long Island. I'm not even like, I'm staying with my father-in-law in Long Island, me, my boy Charles. Shout out to homie Marcus Duff, but he had left. He came, but he had flew back by this time period. But we we drove down from Long Island. I'm staying with my father-in-law. I got a rental car. Like, I'm doing a lot. And then we get pulled over as soon as I make the left turn. And it's just me. Charles is in the back seat. I'm not going to tell you what Charles was doing as we was driving, but it's not good right now. It's not good right now. And yo, we get pulled, and the smell of whatever's going on is just too potent. It's just it's too potent to even, like, we just literally got left the spot too potent. Long story short, I get out the car. I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I don't know. I do not know. So then Charles got to get out of the car, and then the other who is in the mix, everybody gets out the car. What they end up doing is calling the dogs, brings the dogs out. So now we got dogs. Mm-hmm. Dogs is going around the circle in the whip. And now all of a sudden, nobody knows anything. They got to take the vehicle. So they didn't took the rental Friday too. It's like Easter week. They didn't took the rental.
Oh man.
So now, not only do they take the rental, they say you can't take anything outside of the car. I got a low key little suitcase in there. There's like, and the whole car is gone, bro.
Yeah, everything is in there.
I had to catch an Uber back to Long Island from South Philly. Like, like this was crazy.
That had to be expensive, dude. That had to be expensive.
The rental was due, right? So you're talking days where they not getting the rental back, and this is in New Jersey versus me getting the rental from the airport in New York. So it's like crazy. God damn. And it was such a, and then charges ended up being filed and from that extent. But then you go long story, and then all of a sudden now New Jersey's recreational. It's crazy how
that's
like this is 2018 going through all this stuff, and then I think by 2020 New Jersey had become recreational. It's crazy.
Yeah, that whole Eastern Shoreboard is definitely recreational now. Like, that's crazy though, man. They did crazy like that, bro.
Crazy. And he just stopped us, pulled us over. There was no reason to pull us over other than that alleged just being in that lane. But the dude in that car, man, was not thorough. That's all I'll say. That dude was not thorough. And had I not got introduced to him through Michael, who I gave benefit of the doubt, right, I would have treated it a little bit different. But you start meeting people through this person, through that person, you're like, oh, okay, this person cool. I'm gonna give this person benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Just to come find out, like you said, man, it be your own people, like right there with you, like the ones closest to you that bring you down. Yep.
Like you said, the ones closest to you, bro, like they're gonna be the downfall every single time if they're not trusted. Like you said, your friend Michael brought him in, and it was off the strength of bro, but he still got to show and prove too in that time. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that I learned to do. Like, man, you got to show and prove. You can tell me one thing, right? And I'll hear you out. I'm not rude. I'll hear you out. Okay, yeah, you say you do this and that. But then when it's time to act on it, like, that's when you need to go ahead and step up to the plate, bro. Like, that's kind of how we was raised, bro. Like, when we from Durham, man, like, sometimes you had spats. Like, sometimes neighborhoods would fight other neighborhoods. And RIP to my man Nico, man, JJ. When it was time to fight, that man was ready. It won't no talking, it won't no, it was a show and prove type of deal. And that's just how I live life. Like, I say the least, but I do the most in my actions. That's kind of what I want to do. So, man, that's a crazy story though, G. I'm sorry that happened to you, bro.
Yeah, man. I ain't gonna lie. That was a moment where I had hit a low. I was married. I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do professionally. And the moment that all this happened and the cost involved, I was like, I wasn't ready. I was like, yo, you a little boy. Like,
I see what you said.
You not playing big league ball. You still a little boy. Like, this situation basically kind of crippled like the household for a second. And it was like, can't let that happen again. So
right.
But like you said, the lessons got to be learned one way or the other. That moment, it made me reapproach just how I manage family, household finances, how we manage things together. Like, it just made me look at everything a lot differently, because when you look like us and you in the wrong place, wrong time, enjoying yourself, it turns that quickly. Like I can't, like you already spoke about like DUI, but like I got between you, myself, homies, between getting pulled over and getting in trouble for smelling things, for having a couple drinks, and all of a sudden now you getting pulled, just like an instance. You know what I'm saying? And things turn, man. So
that's a fact. That's a fact.
Like you had that experience being in the military and you leave. At that point in the military, you said you kind of wanted to do logistics. Did you leave with a plan thinking like, I'm gonna go approach this idea of the trucking business, like go and get licensed and everything you need for that? Or was that something that wasn't really in the picture yet?
I was still, like you said, I was still a little boy. I was kind of just doing things as it came. So to answer your question, no, I didn't have one inkling on what I still didn't know what I wanted to do. In other words, I got out the military. I just know I didn't want to be in the military no more. But so I got out the military. I was gonna use my GI Bill, and at that time I wasn't in Memphis. I came back to a place called Huntsville, Alabama. They have a school out there, a couple of HBCUs out there, one being Alabama A&M, and then they have another one called Oakwood College. I had a lot of homies that I had went to the one school in Pennsylvania called Pine Forge that went to that Oakwood University now. But at the time it was called Oakwood College. But I had a lot of homies that went to Oakwood College at the time. So I wound up relinking back with them and kind of just living a college style life for like the first time. Now, mind you, I'm I'm kind of getting up there in age. I'm like 24.
It's like all on campus chilling too. Yeah,
you
and then Chris Winky.
Like,
yeah.
So it's like, all right, man, like, this is cool and all, but we gotta start getting into a mind state to where we making substantial money and we can do big boy moves. Because at that time I was still tapped in. I had people that was party promoting even down there. They was getting pretty good money. They had cribs that they used to throw house parties, and they used to rent out clubs and throw parties in the clubs. So I was kind of involved in that a little bit. And I also, me and my partners, we wound up getting apartments, and we had our own apartments and everything, and we was doing our own thing there. But it was a cycle that I kind of wanted to break myself out of, bro. Little money is decent for itself, but it's only good enough to maintain. It's not nothing that you can really build upon and do something with. And I wanted to actually eventually get to that big money so I can build on it. And you know what I'm saying? I was trying to sell. I dabbled in the selling merchandise. I'll say I was making a little money off of that. You know what I'm saying? Like they down there, they ain't really got no access to stuff like that. I was making decent money and but it wasn't still nothing that you can really do. I was spending more in the re-up than I was on like actually making like
right.
money,
All your money got to go right back into the business. All of it. Yeah.
But that taught me something though. And let's keep that in mind. That definitely did teach me like, okay, like either you raise the prices and you get a little, kickback on your return, or you keep it for the low and you got a bunch of people shopping with you. But you know what I'm saying? So it taught me like business economics just in the street way.
Oh, that's a fact. That is a fact. Revenue versus expenses. It's a simple equation. It's a simple equation.
Very simple. But boy, it breaks your heart.
It's the same way too, man. Life is the same way too. Like your bills and the stuff we spend money on month over month.
Yup.
You gotta find a way to going on a tangent, but like again, like when I hit rock bottom, like really I was like, okay, came up with a whole game plan, strategy, all focused around being able to like try and live off of half of what I was making.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough.
Especially when you're not making nothing. Like for real.
Yeah, that's pulling a quote unquote rabbit out of hat, bro. You know that's impossible to do. So you gotta sure yourself up. You know what I'm saying? I'll say this. Out in Huntsville is sort of like how you was up in Jersey. It's very petty. So I wound up getting in trouble with the laws a lot regarding speeding tickets and like that. So they'll throw you in jail for a couple of days for unpaid speeding tickets
Mm.
or failure to. What's the big thing? Failure to appears, not going to court. You know what I'm saying?
And they
That's
actually
an
trying to
automatic.
put you in jail for this too. They not just
Oh
trying
yeah.
to get you. They trying to make sure you behind bars for some time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Huntsville was very, or Alabama in general, was very petty when it comes to like little petty crimes like that. But they gonna sit your ass down for that, and they gonna get money off of you in doing so. But anyway, I wound up getting into the system in that type of way, failure to appears and speeding tickets and like that. Until one night when I was at an ex crib, I guess we was getting into it or whatnot, and I was like, man, hey, let me just go to the car real quick, smoke something, you know what I'm saying, get this off my mind, let me just chill or relax. I walked to the car, not thinking nothing of it, you know what I'm saying, it's just regular night. I walked to the car, and I'm sitting in the car, and I was like, I don't have nothing to roll. So in the midst of me looking like, oh, let me look, I see the light. I see the light. Hey, sir. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once you see the light, it's like,
It's a
well, I'm
wrap.
thinking I'm straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
But in this sense, G, let me like in this sense, I'm thinking I'm straight because I didn't have anything in my mind. In my mind, I didn't have nothing. So he tells me to step out the car and he searches me. I'm like, sir, like I'm over here at my girlfriend's house. Like, I don't know what the problem is or whatnot, but I was about to pull off anyway. I'm lying, but I told him I was about to pull off anyway. And he like, no, just wait here. He was like, sir, is there anything in the car I should be? I think at the time I had like a pretty much I'd have knocked the shoulders off a rock bottle that I had. That empty. Yeah, you know, so I'm like, yeah, it's just a empty Ciroc bottle in there or whatnot. So he checks the car, he comes back. He has some like little tweezers. He was like, I found something. Like it was like, gee, I swear to God, bro, it was like a half-lit joint, like a piece of a Dutch, like way less than a point.
Joint, you'd be like, that's that joint. I knew I dropped that mother. This was months ago. You done dropped it. You'd like, oh man, I know it's around here somewhere. All right,
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. You know that you know exactly when you lost that motherfucker too. You like,
damn, he found it. God,
yep.
That's what I was trying to smoke. That little piece of itty bitty little piece of whatever. Man, that man said, put your hands behind your back. Like he was like, I was a severe criminal. I'm like, damn, dude, like, boy, bro, I'm not even trying to run or nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, G, Huntsville was out of control. I love that place, but that place was out of control. But anyway, he like, put your hands behind your back. He do the whole police, the cops yell. So I'm like, sir, like I'm like ex-military, like, all right, man, here you go, man. I just go ahead and do it. He slams me up like he's like, you going to jail, boy, like type shit. Like so he throw me in the back. Man, the man throw me in the back of the car. And look and check it out. I bailed. Look, all right, so I bond myself out. I forgot how much the bond was. It was petty money. I was still having a little bit of money. It was petty money, but they wound up coming back on me, doubling down on me because not only did I not go to court, but I didn't pay the bail's bondsman. So they hunted me down, came and got me. At the time, I was cooling in Atlanta with one of my homies. They came out there and got me, drove me all the way back to Huntsville, Alabama.
They came and got you from Atlanta?
Yes.
Ooh, they wanted you, boy.
They wanted me. They wanted that. They were like, boy, we got to get that, boy. We were sitting on you for 3 days, Tim. I like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, bro. So scooped me in and threw me in the can, bro. I was in there for like 45 days, bro.
Dog.
And I realized I need to change my life.
Like that is, but it's just like you said at the beginning, toward the beginning, man. All you did was go outside, bro. You do that 100 times, like you do that 100 times. You do it 100 times, like without even thinking about it, and then all of a sudden,
you know, like
yeah, yo, it is crazy how like life will do that, just like at a snap. So they end up coming to get you. You know, having to do 40, like, and that change.
Yep.
Like, I don't think anybody, like, in all seriousness, like, no, like, I don't make light of nobody doing no time. Like, no, I don't make light of nobody who got to pay for lawyers, who got to go to court, who got to deal with the system, and it is not fair. It is biased, and if you don't got resources, you are probably going to get up. It's just that simple. What was it about that 40-day experience for you that just was like, really like, I'm not doing this no more again?
When you got the guy like coming and asking for your trade, like, hey man, let me trade. Look, when you're doing dumb trades and like that don't matter, like I'll trade you my soup for your wolf meat that you can have it. I'm not even, I don't eat this. I lost mad weight when I was in jail, bro. I'm usually a stocky type of guy. I probably lost in that short time at least 10 to 15 pounds. But you could really see it all in my face, my neck. Like I came back looking homely than a motherfucker, like a fro and like I was looking bad. You know what I'm saying? But I realized it when it was like you got people in there, but you made the same mistake like 4 times, dude. Like how many times do you think that you're gonna be able to get away with moving that like without getting caught? Like when people was doing things and it was like a badge of honor to them and it was like totally against what I believe, that's when I knew it was like, nah, this is not another one. It's not for me. So respect to all the men that's in jail. A lot of them have integrity. It might be misguided, let's say, but jail is not for me, man. And I wouldn't suggest that for none of our youth as far as the music and everything. And I'm going on a little tangent, but as far as the music and all of that stuff that promotes that, I totally like, nah, I'm not with none of that. Like, so let's get back to the days to where being a man, working with your hands or using your mind, your intelligence to garner money and riches. Let's get back to that. That's how we grew up. You know what I'm saying? Let's get back to that. But as far as my experience in jail, jail, man.
Yeah.
I didn't with it. I don't like it. No, I don't never want to go back. So that's when I decided to change my life.
Word. And getting out, having gone through that, did you go right to the idea of pursuing the trucking profession, or were you still trying to figure out what that change was gonna be?
I had a young man that I was very cool with that helped get me into a state to where that idea manifested. So I had a homeboy, his name was Henry. I wound up going to Denver, Colorado with him. And when I was out there, I wound up getting into the box trucks, the 20-foot flatbed trucks. I was working for a company called A Plus Hardware, and I was making deliveries all over. See, like in Denver, it's a place, or it's a highway called Highway 70. Very like curvy, steep downgrades. I was driving that ice, snow, a flatbed. I had to strap the load, tarp it, everything. Also go and receive the delivery before I delivered it. But anyway, I was doing all the stuff that I do nowadays unbeknown, but I loved it. It was at a very small scale, but that's what kind of manifested the door, like opened the idea, like, man, maybe if I can do it into the trucking, because there used to be trucks to pull in and they would get loaded up, flatbeds and people that was pushing the can, they was coming in and getting loaded. And I used to be like, hey man, what did you do to get your license, brother? And he'd be like, look, man, just go to school, or hey, go to a company. They'll help you with your license, man. And it was like, I'm gonna do that. But I was just so into what I was doing at the moment, I didn't get into it. You know what I'm saying? But it was always in the back of my head once I got to Denver.
Word. What is it about that type of work that you actually enjoy?
I've always been the guy to, like, when we was taking road trips from wherever, I'll say Huntsville at this point in time, we used to drive to Nashville or Atlanta or Birmingham. I was always the guy driving. I'm talking about, I done drunk just as much as you did. I done did all the other festivities just as much as you did or whatever. And I was always straight. I'm finna get the, you know what I'm saying? We finna get back, I just always loved driving. And as far as like dealing with stuff like freight, like I like big boy and shit. Like when you driving in trucks, one of the most exhilarating things, at least to me, ever. You know what I'm saying? Because you really boss hogging the road. The highway goes how I want it. If I be like, oh, suicide mission, and it, like you all die with me, Like, not just saying. I was just saying, it's that type of mentality. I love it.
No, some drive like that too, and you can tell when you're on the highway where you like, dude, you got it, bro. Like, get that big truck away from me, yo. Like, it's going way too fast. Way too fast. Like, you got it, bro. I'm all the way over here. Yeah,
that's a fact. But that, you know what? In the trucking world, that's its own little thing too. Like when you see them long nose like Peterbilt's or Kenworths, like them, like Optimus, we call them the Optimus Prime.
Optimus
you
Prime.
They got they got the long nose, and you know what I'm saying, they got the classic old school look. Them the type of trucks there, they'll hit 90 on you. You won't even hear it. Like, you think I'm probably going like 70, decent speed. Honestly, I'm not supposed to be going that fast, but to each his own. My truck is not governed. But anyway, they'll fly past you.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I didn't even hear this guy. Like, he was way down the hill. Like, when I'd have been past this hill, he passing me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just the caliber of those trucks are just super strong, man. Good trucks to have, actually. Good trucks to have.
Word. So if you are okay, let's go back to that moment where you like you said, you were doing the box trucks, doing more small scale, doesn't require the same like certifications or licenses, right? Like, you can kind of do that if somebody's willing to give you opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So if we go back to that moment, like, what are the barriers that you have to overcome to get into, say, the profession the way that you're in it now, where you're like, and we could talk about that in more detail in terms of like how some people are working for themselves, working for other companies, but have their own trucks, leasing trucks. But just to be in a position to drive those freight, or is that what we call freight trucks? Or
freight, industrial size, industrial size trucks, or like you got smaller, like it's kind of tough. I mean, because they're all industrial. We'll just go with big boy trucks, like the big trucks, and then you got the little trucks. The big trucks obviously is 53-foot long trucks, or the 49-foot flatbed trucks, or whatever. The reason why you have to have a certain license for them, because they have a certain amount of axles. They have 5 axles, and for like regular smaller trucks like box trucks, and they only have like 3. So you might have a dually in the back and then the regular steers in the front. That's 3 axle truck. You get what I'm saying? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, like, what type of license, or like what type of, like, what do you need to go from, say, the 3 axle to 5 axle?
You would need a Class A CDL, and for your Class A CDLs, it consists of a test, a 3-compartment test. Like you got your combination part of the test, you got your regular general, and then you got your air brake that you need to know. I'll say it's around probably like 75 to 80 questions altogether, but it consists of 3 compartments. So your combinations, your air brakes, and your general knowledge.
So when you're talking about these 3 different sections, these are written tests that you're talking about, like,
yes,
where
sir.
You're reading and having to answer. Are they open answers, multiple choice?
Multiple choice.
3 sections, each one multiple choice. What was the first one you said? Combination? Or
it was a combination. It's called combination. So combination, not to cut you, but a combination is kind of like, it consists of both a general knowledge, the air brake, because those are 2 other sections on the combined test. But it also adds stuff like coupling, like how to couple your tractor to your trailer. Just other like miscellaneous questions, like the PSI, what's your PSI on your tires should normally be, should be around like 100 PSI. It's stuff like that. That's on that compartment of the test.
And then the other 2 were called, you said, oh, we got them in the building, man. We got them in the building, man.
Dante, what's happening?
Shout out that nigga Tay, man. Hey, man, that boy up there probably changes. Man, you got them twins keeping you busy, boy. Yeah, he do.
Boy,
I know he out there chilling, boy. Yes, sir.
Sure, man. Yeah.
So you said combination. What were the other two parts of that test? You said it was combination,
So,
air brakes.
yep, combination air brakes and general knowledge.
Air brake. So what's like why you need a whole section on air brakes? Like what does that really mean in the world of what you do?
So air brakes, let's say this, like that's like the lifeline. If you don't know how to bleed your air brakes, or you don't know how to gauge if your air brakes are fully functional, that's life and death for everyone that's on the road that's around you.
Oh wow.
Because I'll say this, and I'm just being yeah, I'm just being matter of factly. You knowing your air brakes not only saves your life, it saves everyone else's, but you want to get back home to your family, right? So you might want to know if you have enough air contained in the airlines to your trailer brakes, so that if you do need to hit the brake, that it'll respond, it'll brake. Like if you have a slow leak and you don't know that you had a slow leak, and like when you hit the gas, it usually builds air pressure to go to your airlines. But if you're not getting that air pressure to go into your airlines for your trailer brakes, you're riding in a death trap, bro. You're riding in a death trap. If you don't know or understand the philosophies of that, they'll never give you your CDLs. They'll never give you your CDLs, bro.
Like I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I gotta ask, since we're here, like what's been the scariest moment that you've had driving one of these monster trucks on the road?
Well, you know what? I've been blessed that I kind of had like a fearless type attitude, but I have been in sketchy places. So I'll say this: when I've driven in rural Pennsylvania, coming from the Cleveland side of Ohio. So you're going into Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. It's a lot of steep downgrades in that area. 9% steep downgrade, 7%. It's a thing that we have on the trucks that's called a Jake brake, and it's pretty much, long story short, it's when your engine RPMs they kind of pull back the power that they're receiving from the belts running. So they kind of like it's the engine breaking itself essentially, without you having to push the actual physical brake. So when it's raining, you don't want to necessarily use your engine brake like that. You kind of want to go slow. You want to ease off the gas. You kind of want to coast it, and you stab just a little bit on your brake. That way you still in line. You're not getting out of you're not getting out of line. So one day, long story short, one day I was riding down that Pennsylvania road. It was raining real hard, like real hard. I kind of lost my mind for a second. I engine brake, like, yeah, let me use my Jake. You know what I'm saying? But that was like, oh, like, so it was like I had to kick in, like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. It's raining. Like when you engine brake, it stops the rotation of the tires so rapidly. It's hard.
Right,
it's
right.
like,
Yeah.
It stopped like that compared to you hitting the brake and you eventually stop. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
That's kind
right.
of contrast. So I did that, and I learned from there, like, whoo, I will never do that again. Like, as far as like, yeah, let me hit the Jakes, like, and not think nothing about it, and let me get back to smoking my cigarette and whatever. Like, nah, like you can't. You gotta focus, bro. Like when it's raining hard, slow down. Sometimes it's better to go slow. That'll save your life. Just going slow will save your life in trucking.
No question. So, where do you study this type of to learn what you talking about to take that test? Is there a class you take? Do you do this all on your own? Like, where do you even start?
Well, I had some mentors before I got into the game. My wife, a couple of her uncles had drove. They gave me pretty good game, but I wound up going to school for this. I went to a school in Chicago called 160 Driving Academy, and that's where it was more hands-on. You had a 40-hour class in the classroom, but I had already been studying years before. I had surpassed the classroom. I wanted to get hands-on, but you got 40 hours in the classroom, and then you got 120 hours on the truck driving, doing your thing.
Word.
And to me, that was like the most essential part of it.
The 120 hours on the truck.
And the 120 hours on the truck. Yep.
And you're getting this experience before you officially get your certification or license to have it. So you're getting this like experience before you can officially do it on your own.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, so somebody like driver's ed, basically, where it's somebody on the other side who got like an emergency brake in case something go wrong, or like, are you in the truck by yourself? Like, how does that work?
All right. In my school, it was I was lucky. It wasn't that many students with us, but I'll say for me, it was probably like 3 other students in the truck along with your instructor,
Mm-hmm.
and we like I don't have any limitations on my license, so I was driving stick shift. So I'm driving a 10 gear, switch up, switch down truck. Like I didn't see people stall out and the whole truck shake, everybody
Yeah.
fly forward and fly. Yeah, like I didn't seen it all regarding that type of deal. But yeah, that's how it usually goes. It's according to like class. So if I had 3 people in week 1 with me as far as being on the yard, they're more than likely going to be the ones to graduate with me when we all go to the DMV to take the test. You get what I'm saying? That's how it usually goes. So in my class, I had about 3 or 4 people. All of them wind up getting their CDLs. They're kind of like all over the country as far as driving.
And like you had some experience before taking that class, but if you don't have any experience, could you take that same class and in theory be in position to like pass the test and everything?
Yes, sir. If you're into it, like I'll tell you this: the trucking school will tell you if you're scared or not because you're still performing. You gotta know like, hey, I might mess up. It was some days I was hitting the gears clear. Fifth gear. Switch up. Like killing it. And then it was some days you was stalled out on 80-94 in Chicago. Like that's like stalling out on 40 in Durham, like or Raleigh. Like that's the main highway. You get what I'm saying? Like so what I'm saying is like you gotta not be afraid to make mistakes, but you also gotta be not like you can't be afraid to take your lessons to learn. Like I always wanted to learn more. When I made a mistake, it was like, hey, what did you see me doing that caused us to be in this type of situation? You know what I'm saying? Once you get that answer, you go back in your mental index, you fix it. Tomorrow is gonna be a better day. I'm gonna get it right. I've always had that type of mentality. So
word. Yeah, man. Like I think the trucking industry is a lot of people I think talk about it, whether owning one, getting into it, whether it be owning the business, owning the truck, being a driver. Like there's many aspects to it. Are you someone who works for a company, owns a truck? Like, I guess break that down for me in terms of like your current setup.
All right, so my current setup at the moment is I'm a company driver. I've been with my particular company for over a year. I say a year and a half now. I haven't been offered a lease opportunity as far as leasing a truck through the company. They have came and talked to me about it. They just haven't offered it. But a company driver pretty much gets paid by the mile. A lease driver gets paid by the load. Owner operators, which is people that own their own trucks, they also get paid by the load, which is way more money. Which is way more money. But I'll say this: when as far as the freight and distribution of freight, when it fluctuates, it hurts their price a lot more than it will hurt me as a company driver, because I'm still gonna get my little miles to run whatever little loads and still get my money. It might hurt me a little bit, but it really hurts them because the prices either go up for them or it goes down. Like right now, the market is down. It's more, in other words, it's more trucks on the road than it is freight because of inflation. Everything is costing more, so people are not spending money. So which means there's it's not going to be an amount of freight that needs to be that needs to be delivered to these warehouses because people aren't buying stuff.
Right.
So everything kind of is the whole ecosystem.
But when COVID hit and stuff was booming before the inflation hit, like were you on the road at that period?
At that point in time, I wasn't there. I was still learning as far as like getting my CDS. I wasn't there yet. I was trying to get there, but I wasn't there yet.
Okay.
But I heard then you get money. It was a lot of millionaires made that.
So that's an interesting thing to hear, in that the correlation of like monetary policy, inflation, interest rates, if you're listening, we do have an episode with Rob Boyd where we talk about interest rates, what that means, how it impacts monetary policy. Y'all should check that out. It's coming out soon. But hearing how this correlates to what you do directly in terms of just opportunities, like you said, when it's booming, there's more stuff to get delivered, more demand. Like there can be, I guess, a shortage of trucks to freight sometimes, where it's more freight than it is trucks. But then you have situations where now interest rates are very high, inflation is high, and the money's not moving as much and people aren't spending as much. So now, like you said, it's less freight and more trucks. So it's kind of cool hearing those ties, because I don't think I've ever really connected those dots before you said that.
Yeah, that's kind of a real big deal in the trucking industry, because if you notice, like a lot of owner operators or people that own their trucks will be kind of mad because, man, you want me to go 700 miles to go pick up this for $1,500? And I understand, because like if you have to deadhead a certain amount of miles, that's going against your fuel. Now you're paying that out of pocket. Everything that I'm saying for an owner operator, more than likely you're paying that out of pocket. So if diesel is 471, it takes about 120, a little under 200 gallons per tank. You're spending in the upwards of like $700-800 just to fuel up, like, and make sure like you're full. Like now if you're going through a treacherous area, like let's say for instance I-70 in Denver, that's a lot of mountains. Like you're going up and down. That's you're burning more fuel. So you're going all the way across the country. You're burning mad fuel for a load that's only going to pay you maybe just enough money to get back to where you started. It's a lose situation.
That's just like we were saying with the re-up. Like you getting the bread,
exactly.
Then you gotta put it all right back into the re-up. Dang,
exactly.
Crucial.
It's that mentality that you gotta have. You gotta see it before you do it. Gotta make sense. You gotta make it make sense.
Do you get to like if you're driving for a company, like how do you get a say in what opportunities and routes you run, or like
you do contingent on your relationship with your dispatcher. I've seen people that have horrible relationships with their dispatchers, and they'll send them to the most dangerous routes. They could be like, "Hey, I just had a baby last week, man." And if you have a bad relationship with that dispatcher, he gonna send you somewhere in the mountains where you can possibly die. If you don't like it. It's a cutthroat game. So you gotta always make sure that, like, hey, we're on the same page, right? I have this going on, this and that, and you show and prove. Like I did a double up not too long ago, to where I did a run from Nashville. Pretty much, you're doing the same route twice. Is the double up, but I did a run from Nashville to Salt Lake City, right?
Ooh.
That's about 1,900 miles. About 17 to 1,900 miles. So I did that. They brought me from Salt Lake City. Did I do that route? I went from Salt Lake City to Phoenix, Arizona. Then from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Savannah, Georgia. That was like 2,100 miles.
That's like a whole circle.
Yeah, pretty much a whole circle. That's how they try to route. All right, right now I'm headquartered in Nashville. I'm in Chicago right now, but I'm headquartered in Nashville. I'll be going back in a couple of weeks or so. But anyway, I was burnt out. I'm not even gonna lie. I was tired as shit. Like, yo, I've been running every day, 10 hours a day, almost 600 miles, pretty much every run. You understand? So I'm like burnt out. So they was like, hey, look, before you go on your break, can you come pick up this load in Nashville? When I looked at the load, it was the same route.
Yeah.
From Nashville back to Salt Lake City. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't complain. I did it in a timely fashion. I got the order done in time. They got me back right. See, you got to have that relationship, because when you do it right, they'll give you the amount of time that you want off, or they'll give you whatever routes. Like if I would have been like, nah, I don't know if I want to do that, they'd have probably respected it. Like, hey, all right, we can get you to Indianapolis, or because they've done that for me before. You don't feel safe driving that? Hey, we'll get you here. You can go this route. do this, and you know what I'm saying. But if you're always complaining, I say for you rookie drivers out there, sometimes you gotta man up, you gotta woman up, you gotta just get out there and just do it. Because they're not gonna give you that pass, especially if you got under a year's worth of experience and you a new booty. Like, they're not gonna give you that. No, they're not gonna give you that, bro. You got to do it. You got to show me that you can do it first before you get perks. In other words,
right. And talk to me about Dash Kingz. Like, what was the inception of that idea with Dash Kingz, and what was the inception, and what did you create it for?
Okay, Dash Kingz was an idea, a company I made up. Me and my wife had came. She was like, "Man, you always on the road." She was like, "You be in between them dashes all the time." And I was like, "Ding!" Like, "Oh, yo, Dash, like Dash King." Like, and the reason why I came up with that because I wanted to I used to be into watching other people's vlogs. That was like big for me. Like, that's what kind of got me over the fear of driving something like that, just seeing how other people reacting and handled it, seeing the road before you actually get on it, and then envisioning yourself, you know what I'm saying, in that situation that you're seeing. And I created it for that, but I also made it an LLC because I eventually plan on getting my own truck. I'm in actually the workings in doing and getting my own truck, using my LLC as far as Dash Kingz to hit the road and be my own owner operator. So that should be happening probably next year, man. Yes, sir.
Word up. And you enjoyed watching other people's blogs, so you wanted to, I guess, make your own video version for other people to take a look at, or like what's the goal or mission with the content you're putting out with Dash Kingz?
Well, the mission is to pretty much give people confirmations as to whether if they can or can't do this job, because I want to be able to show etiquette. Like, so it's certain like little etiquettes that you need to have within the industry, as far as like, let's say when you go to a truck stop, you need to kind of almost always be in your truck unless you pull up to the fuel line. Then if you got to go use the bathroom or whatever, or get something to eat or something to drink or whatever, then go and do that. I preach these type of messages because when you're new booty in the game, for a lot of you new truckers, I say new booty, but like, but when you're a rookie, I'll say that when you're a rookie in the game, for a lot of you new truckers out there, these are things that you won't know, but you'll have people. Like, you might do the mistake of getting out of your truck while you in line, and people looking at you crazy. Like what the f is he doing? Then you on someone else's blog out here called Bonehead Truckers, and it just shows truckers' mistakes all day and all night. You know what I'm saying? I want to give you advice onto not being on that channel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's one for, like, for me. I had a few channels that I watched. I'm not gonna shout them out, but I'll say this: like, they helped me get my mind right and to know the little details that I probably wouldn't have known or without experience. That is, like, I probably wouldn't have known it going into it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to give you, is that information before you get into it. Like, okay, maybe I should pull up to the fuel outlet and go and then pump my diesel and DEF and I just simple stuff.
Word. And if you out there listening and you are considering or know people who are considering this type of career path, and you're looking for resources, tap into that Dash Kingz YouTube. The content you already see here. Tim is a real dude. He's giving it up very honestly on his page with great content. Like, I got a couple more questions here before we wrap up. You mentioned wanting to become your own owner operator. Like, let's just talk about some of the costs involved, because I would imagine these trucks aren't cheap items. Like, what is like a ballpark range? Like, would you want to get a new one, a used one? Like, do you know what some of the costs or differences is between, say, a brand new truck versus one that's used? Like, talk to me about some of that.
So you got to view it like how you view a car, right? Most of the times when you get a brand new car, obviously the overhead is going to be high at the front end because of the cost that you're paying for that brand new car. But that might bite you in the ass a little later because it hasn't gone through its problems yet. It hasn't had a major problem that's worked on, and, you know what I'm saying, or fixed on yet. So what I would suggest for a lot of you people that's thinking about getting new trucks or getting a truck is get you something that has had a problem, has been fixed, is ran a certain amount of miles. You got to remember, trucks can run up to like I say like 5 to 6 million miles. Like that, like trucks run. You know what I'm saying?
5-6 million miles.
Yes.
So it ain't like an Accord with like 200,000 plus 250. You thinking like, yeah, that's gonna get it. You saying these joints, a single engine will go for millions of miles?
Yes, trucks are built
Wow.
to go long like that. And
Word.
honestly, an Accord that has 200,000 miles, that's a good car. Accords run for a long time.
Yeah.
So just thinking about it from that type of aspect, like you want to maximize the amount of miles that you can get out of that truck. So it's great to get a brand new truck, but you also have to make sure that you got a lot of overhead as far as like, all right, you running this certain route all the time because you're going to be the first one to fall into whatever issue it has. You get what I'm saying? Whatever issue comes about it, you're going to be the first one to have to deal with it. If it's a major one, that can be costly. So you want to make sure that you got at least 10,000 in your savings. You want to make sure that tires are a big deal. You always want to make sure your tires are probably new. I know for my Volvo, I have new treaded tires. Like, so I eat up the road. When you on the road all the time, you eating up a lot of road, you can get a lot of wear and tear. In the same sense, and I'm saying tires for the specific reason because that helps with how fast you're going, as far as gripping the road or as far as having a load on your back, how fast you can run. If you got bald tires or messed up tires, it's going to take more torque out of your engine to run the tires, which is going to burn. It's going to burn your pockets in your fuel costs. It's going to burn your starter out. It's a lot of things that can burn out just for something simple as tires.
Right.
I know I'm rambling, but all I'm saying
it's good insight.
all I'm saying is for a lot of you drivers out there, get you a truck that you're comfortable with. Me personally, I would rather get a used truck to start off with. I'm not going to get nothing brand new because I don't want to run into that problem first. I would rather it had already had its problems. It was fixed. I say as far as the specific brand of truck that you want, you got your Freightliners, you got Cascadias. As far as Freightliners, you got Volvos, you got your Internationals, which is the Cummins engine. Your Kenworths is like the Cadillacs. Your Peterbilts is kind of like the same. Those are the Optimus Primes. Like those are the big boys. Me personally, I probably get, if you're starting off, just get you a Freightliner, something between the range of if it has up to like a little under 500,000 miles, that means it's ran already, it's primed, it's ready to go. Get you something like that. Make sure the tires is good, something like that, man.
And how, like, ballpark range, anywhere from what to what would you expect to spend for what you just described?
We talking I'll say 40. I'll say from 35 to like maybe 60 grand.
Oh, okay.
On a used Freightliner. Now you got your day cabs and you got your sleepers. So it depends on what you want. If you're getting you a day cab, it's gonna run. Like the day cabs is the one you just see with the seats. It's just the seats. It ain't no sleeper. It ain't no back. It's just the seats in there. That's it. Now that's if you're gonna run local or regional routes. You got your sleepers, those are meant for like you taking over the road, you OTR, you over the road, you going everywhere. So that takes into account too as far as the price. But I'm not gonna tell you what I'll tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a 2020 Freightliner Cascadia out here. It's around $45,000, and it was privately owned from this one company that already distribute. They ran for a meat company around the Indiana, Chicago area. So I'm looking at them right now as far as purchasing their truck. It has a little under 600,000 miles. The tires look decent. They can be a little better, but I'm looking at them right now. That's just one.
And like how many miles do them tires last compared to like a regular sedan or Jeep, something like that? Like how many miles these tires made for?
That's a good question. I would say most of the times they can run up to like from like 300 to 500,000 miles. So that's pretty good trade. And that's if you're running and you're really taking care of them, you're not overweight, because that's a lot of people's problem. They like to run a little overweight, which wears and tears on the tires. But they run for a decent amount of time. It's just you just keep up with it. Make sure the tread is good, and you kind of got to baby it, man. Baby, you got to make sure you're taking care of that.
Do you have to do like, okay, so Because, like, all right, if you're driving a regular car, they say you got to get your oil changed 3,000, 5,000 miles, but you're hitting that clip potentially on a there and a back. Like, you're already. So, are you having to do maintenance to your truck at every stop? Like, once you get a load, drop one off, maintenance. Like, is that just a part of the routine as well?
For most companies, for company drivers, they will understand. Most of the time, you're gonna get maintenance around 50 to 70,000 miles driven. So my truck, once I get back to Nashville, I'm gonna actually have to have mine's maintenance and refurbished and making sure all my levels and everything is straight. Because I'm like maybe 2,000 miles outside of the 50. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna have to get re-maintenance and making sure everything is cool. But usually every 50 to 70,000 miles is when your company will have your truck brought in to the mechanic, to the shop to get it maintenance and tuned up or whatever. Now for owner operators and lease operators, this is something that's on your time. You're gonna have to figure out. It's according to your pockets and it's according to what you know about your truck. That piece of property is yours, so it's not liable to the company anymore. It's not insured under the company anymore. It's insured under your LLC or name, and you have to figure out when I want to get it maintenance, or that's why you do your pre-trips. That's why you do your pre-trips are very important.
How many miles? Like, you've been doing this for a couple years. About how many miles a year are you driving roughly?
If you do it right, you can get up to 100,000. But that's running. That's running.
That's like you went crazy. You got 100,000.
Yeah, like I got look, with this year alone, I got in a short span, and I done had a few months off, but in a short span, I got up to 50,000 miles, and I had a few months off where I didn't drive for like January, like February. I started like in like late March. Then I had, you know what I'm saying? So, but I already got 50,000 miles. For a lot of people, that's a year worth of running is 50,000 miles. I did that in like 6-7 months.
Like, that ability to take time off, like, does that just come with the benefits of the profession? Is it necessary? Like how is it that you get to like seemingly pick and choose when you have this time off?
Because I'm a great driver. I'm a great driver, bro. Like this is a perk that I've earned. This is not something that, you can take time off. Take time off at your company and you see what they do with you. When you try to look into your your company app and you can't access nothing.
Yeah.
Take time off. Go ahead. You guys do what you want to do. I'm telling you what I do at my company. Now, my way may not be necessarily the way that you want to do it, but what I'm saying in general is run hard and they'll respect you. Run hard and they'll respect you. They'll give you the time that you request.
Word. That's like, because like I'm okay. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, just if I'm getting to it realistically, like if you're into the business and you're putting in pretty good time, like, what is a ballpark range that if you were talking to somebody who was thinking about doing this, they're looking for the information, but they want to know realistically in a year, not how much from a re-up perspective, but net, like how much money can someone make in a year's time early in the game, roughly, like a range? It's not going to be the same for everybody, but like a range.
A range? Well, it depends on how much you're running, right? They have certain perks for certain companies to where, like, obviously when you start off, I'll say with Nike, like when you're starting off, you're getting 32 cents a mile. But for each milestone mark that you get, as far as running, like, all right, you ran 25,000 miles, you get another cent. You ran 50,000 miles, you get another 2 cents on top of that one.
So you get like accelerators on when you hit certain thresholds.
Yeah, you get perks, right? I'm at near my 2 year area. So I've ran over 100,000 miles, right? But like I'm still getting paid cents per mile. Like I'm probably getting like, I don't want to put my business out there, but I'm probably getting like 40 cents a mile, right? So I'll probably net on the average of, like, if I did a full year straight just work a little under 100 grand, I'll probably be at like like 80 to 80. I say from like 80 to like just a little under 90. You know what I'm saying? That's just new booty. That's running, but that's
yo, just comfortably calling new booty, I think is a little flagrant. I gotta
my
admit,
bad.
yo, I gotta admit, yo, you cannot just be calling new booty. Like, this is a little flagrant, man. I gotta admit, but please just carry on, man. Carry on. But no, but real talk, it's who gonna go to school and then go get a master's who aren't gonna make 80 to 90 in their first 2 years of doing a job. Like, let's just be like flat out honest there. That's why I appreciate you sharing, because we don't know what we don't know, bro. Like, it's if you knew at 16 that you could make that in 2 to 3 years, and the type of work it was appealing to like who you were at that time, hands-on, like it's attainable, actually, it could potentially like set up a whole different outcome if you just had that exposure early on. So we need people who are in it like yourself, giving real like testimonials about this is what you can expect, this is what I did, how I'm doing it, and this is what you could also do if you are willing to work, which is a different conversation, right? Everybody's not gonna be able to put in the time, the energy that it takes to do it at the level that you do it. And that's with any profession, right? Like, if you want to be good at anything, there's going to be certain sacrifices and dedications made to rise to a certain level, even if it's a butcher or a plumber or electric. It doesn't matter what, if you want to hit it at a certain level, you're going to be putting in certain time and sacrifices, and you giving people just a little insight into what you can realistically expect, especially at a time right now, man. People are hungry, dog. Like, I don't know if you like, life is expensive. Like, Durham is crazy. It's not a cheap place to stay. It's not that affordable. People looking for opportunities that they don't necessarily qualify for. So you want to make a certain level of money, but a lot of the opportunities that give you that level of money, you might not be qualified for or prepared for. But what can you do potentially to put yourself in position to do something? And like everything you said here, man, like I had no clue. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I hope if anybody else listening out there, maybe it gives them a little insight or inspiration to take that initial step into learning some of this stuff so that they can take that test and then hit the ground running like yourself, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, to go back to your original question, that was why I got into the game. I'll tell you this, like a lot of YouTubers that's in the trucking industry, they'll try to wean you out. Like, why is, like, they'll put titles like, why it's not a good reason to, or a good idea to get your CDLs and get into the trucking industry. And what? Like, you playing. Like, I want our brothers and sisters to come in and get this money that's out here. You just gotta know, like, once you get into the industry, it's just like any other industry. It's all about how much effort and work that you put into it. You'll get your riches off of that. It's about what you reap, what you sow, bro. Like, if you're sowing nonsense, you're gonna get nonsense back. If you're putting in the effort, the work, you really trying to make your efficient. You're putting just enough diesel in your truck to run however many amount of miles to get that load done, and you seeing more money back from that run because you did that. You was efficient. That's what I'm talking about. It's about that type of deal. You know what I'm saying? It's not just willy-nilly. Oh, I got my CDLs. Like, it was people that went to my school that was coming back to the school. Like, before I actually got my license, right? I was still in class. I was still in school. And they was coming back to the school and they was like, I can't find a job. I'm like, how? How the hell can you not find a job in the trucking industry? Like, you have to put in the effort. People ain't gonna just, oh no, we know she has her license or he has his license now. They're not gonna come knocking on your door. You gotta want it. It's all about how much you want it, man. If you want it, you're gonna get it done. I promise you that. And it'll pay off. It'll be beneficial to you and your family. I can guarantee you that.
That's dope, man. That's dope, man. Like, and like I'm like, I'm gonna keep my eyes on what's going on, because when you do get that freight and you go to the next stage of what you're doing, I definitely gonna want to circle back just to hear some of those realities. Because one of the things I will highlight here, just in having this conversation, is, and this is why, like, this has been a reoccurring thing, but like you said, you got the CDL as how to drive, but a lot of what you just described is business acumen. It's about margins. It's about knowing your expenses, how to minimize those expenses to get the most money in the end. Like this is not dry. This is not stuff you learn in terms of when you're learning how to drive. You see what I'm saying? Like this is like you said, it's economics, it's market dynamics, it's business. And you gotta have that just mindset and approach in anything that you're doing, because these are the little things that take us over the top, like how you just described. Like when you can do little things to save on gas over that period of time, that margin that you end up getting in return is like, you keep doing that trip over trip over trip. That's money over money over money. Like, so I got to highlight the importance too of just some business acumen. It just can't be about, oh, I like to drive trucks, so I'm gonna be driving trucks. You still gotta have some mathematics going on in here, have some mental thinking going on in here. Like this stuff does come in handy. And kind of close it here, I'm curious, do you have like, just from your point of view, the best route you've ever driven, and why is that the best route that you've experienced?
I'll say this. I've driven kind of all over this country, right? But I'll say this. Texas, I love Texas.
It's a big ass state too, boy.
Yeah, it's big as shit, bro. Like,
yeah.
You know, but the reason why I'm saying that is because the way it's set up, like they have like, so to get from Dallas to Houston, it's its own little interstate that it's sort of like how 85 is from Durham to Atlanta. Own little section that, like, that little highway that goes straight to this city. You know what I'm saying? You know how 95 runs the whole coast. 85 really runs, I'll say, from Virginia, but I'm taking it from a Carolina time. It's from,
I feel what you're saying. I feel what you mean.
It's from like Carolina to Atlanta, and Houston and Dallas have one highway that's called 45, Highway 45. It goes from Dallas to Houston. Perfect. Big wide highway. You're not going through dry patches. You're always seeing stuff. That's why I love like Dallas and Houston so much, man. Texas, I would say Texas wins on that. Texas is definitely a trucker's paradise.
And then the place where if you can just avoid it at all costs, it's been the worst drive that you can say you've had the experience.
70 West, I have two of them. 70 West in Denver, Colorado, because of the steep downgrades in the mountains. If you're running fully loaded, that can be a big. That can be like, I don't know if you know about. It was one situation that happened years ago where it was a Mexican brother that was driving the truck. He had wound up burning his brakes out, and he missed all the runoff ramps, and he ran straight into some cars, killed about 8 people. I think he wound up getting like life in jail, but that was the highway he was on.
Wow.
I-70 West, Denver, going towards Salt Lake City and all of that. So that's a tough drive. I'll say that's my number one. Number two would be I-15 right outside of Phoenix, Arizona. Very mountainous. Little do people know. Like, very mountainous, and it's steep, curvy downgrade. So that was a ride there too. I-15 from like Mesa, Arizona, like northern Phoenix. All of that is the Phoenix region, but I didn't even know Phoenix had mountains until I went through it. Like, wait, Phoenix got mountains?
You know I've yet to go to Phoenix. I think I flew through the airport, and that's it. But I hear that Scottsdale, Phoenix, I hear they got like nice spas and shit like that. I'm definitely trying to go out there and catch a vibe at one of those spas.
Phoenix is a beautiful, nice city. Very, very nice city. It's just like I said, when you coming from the north part of the city, getting into it, it's very mountainous. Very mountainous. But obviously once you get into the city limits, it's flat, easy drive. So It would be those two, man. It would definitely be those two.
Word. Well, look, man, Tim, I greatly appreciate you joining the pod, having the open conversation, talking a little bit, just not just about your background, but what led you to how you do what you do now, and the Dash Kingz and everything. Is there anything that you would want to leave listeners with? Just any takeaways or anything that you hope listeners are able to just receive from listening or watching this episode?
The only thing that I would say is if you're thinking about getting into this business, man, be safe out on that road. For you rookie drivers, you veteran drivers,
That new booty.
Yeah, for your new booties out there.
That's wild.
Yeah, pause. I meant to say pause the whole time, but you gonna have to add a pause button or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, for you rookie drivers, you veteran drivers, man, it's not just you on that road. You got your four-wheelers, you got other brothers and sisters out there who also drive trucks. So maintain your lanes, which is staying between them dashes and be out on that road, man. Get home to your family. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Man, we greatly appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can listen to the G podcast on all platforms, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, you name it. We on there. Thank y'all so much for listening. This is the G podcast where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the G podcast. Make sure y'all tune in next time.
It doesn't matter how you feel. And I take a no talk back. See you,